This is exactly the spark that the Minnesota Wild is needed, and we have multiple reports coming out about players returning from the injury reserve, making their season debut, and multiple updates in the lineup. We're going to be breaking that down, as well as going over where the Minnesota Wild season has already changed, with Brock Faber coming out and speaking out on their player-only meeting with multiple very good things to hear coming from this team after a lackluster start to the season. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into it though, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, be sure to hit the sub button. Join us here on the channel. We're covering everything Minnesota Wild, and with everything that has come out so far, where we currently see this Minnesota Wild team and how this team has made a change from being in a very tough position to start the season to then going 7-1-1 over the last 9. This team is in a very good spot, but we have a few updates regarding this lineup with changes that have been made due to injuries and where the lineup currently stands ahead of tonight's game. And with Michael Russo tweeting this out from yesterday, we have a very good idea as to what moves will also continue to be made. But Vladimir Tarasenko was placed on the IR. He's not on the trip. Creates a roster spot if Sturm or Bogosian are ready to return. Crazy how many Wild players are on the NHL payroll now, with 5 guys out, including 3 of the 4 centers they expected to start the year with. Now, you see that Vladimir Tarasenko, the roster spot, was open for either Bogosian or Sturm, and only a few hours ago before today's game, Michael Russo went back on that and saying Bogosian and Sturm are officially activated off the IR, and David Jiricek has been re-signed to the Iowa Wild. Hope is that Sturm can debut on Sunday, so we won't see Marco Sturm here tonight, but this regardless is a very good sign for one of their top free agent offseason signings, a guy who's been a multi-time cup winner at this point right now and has been a very, very big, I will say hopeful for the Minnesota Wild heading into the season. Ultimately, the back injury kept him out, but finally, they get the guy that they're relying so heavily on to bring some veteran experience to this team back for this trip, and hopefully on Sunday. Now, this obviously is something that we've been waiting for. Bogosian and Sturm, I will say, offensively, defensively, they will not really move the needle, but their importance is more than just what they provide on the ice. They're 2 of the most tenured players currently on the Wild team across the NHL, and with how young this team has gotten, really, for this heading from this offseason into this year now, with a whole load of players that are super young, this is exactly what the Minnesota Wild needed to see at this point in the season, where they have so many holes in the roster due to injuries, and so many people just filling in spots, playing what could be their first, second, third, only handful of games in the NHL. It's very good to see these guys back, and of course, David Jiricek reassigned. The best thing for him now to do will be get some more games under his belt, continue to play, and not just sit and watch this team, and just wait for the opportunity where he is to come back to this lineup and be a regular here, because it's only a matter of time. Now, among all of these as well, we do have the updates from yesterday, of course, Tarasenko's, and the day before, the 19th, Hunter Height was recalled from Iowa, with Ryan Hartman placed on the IR. There's now some more options as well with the Minnesota Wild's roster to make a few more moves, of course, with this really jumble of players getting recalled, reassigned. The Wild are going to now have to go out and choose what they're going to do, because although you're going to have a lot of players still on the IR, at least for a little while, I mean, Tarasenko, Hartman, Rossi, just to name a few, with thankfully now Bogosian and Sturm coming off of this, the Wild's lineup is going to be quite a mix of players. And what we're looking at right now was the most recent lines from last game. And of course, Kaprizov, Yurov, and Zuccarello. We really liked what we saw from Yurov, of course, in that first game, and so did Bill Guerin and John Hynes. They expressed their pleasure for that. But Marcus Johansson, Joel Eriksson Ek, Matt Boldy on the second line. And I mean, when you're going in the bottom 6, Ben Jones, Tyler Pitlick, and Liam Ogren, that was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was a line in Iowa earlier this season. So it just goes to show kind of where the Wild currently stand, and the fact that they're still doing what they're doing, it shows really what that player meeting did for this team. And we now got a little bit of information from The Athletic, thanks to a few players, but mainly Brock Faber, when he did come out and speak out about how the Wild really changed everything up here. And I mean, from just going over these past couple of games, handful of games from where they were to start the season, this is a very kind of important thing now to look back on to see what happened in that meeting. And with a lot from what Brock Faber had to say, we're going to start it off with this one right here. He says a lot of the message was just everyone's intentions are right in this room. And it's just getting back to things you can control, like I can't control whether I give up 5 shots on goal, 5 opportunities to jump into the rush, 5 chances a game. I can't control that. Things I can control are the way I box out, the way I compete, the way I gap, and then the rest is already written. So getting back to our identity and trusting the guy next to you was obviously the thing. And having Jared Spurgeon call for this meeting was something that I think really worked out well. Because even though the Minnesota Wild at this point right now are not even in a wild card spot, you see the record, 10-7-4, with 7-1-1 over their last 9. I think it goes to show how important this last run was to get back into a competing spot, because this year among the NHL is so different for the fact that there's not really any teams completely running away with it. I mean, the Colorado Avalanche have 1 loss in regulation, but they have 5 overtime losses. And going into how things are working across the NHL, this is a very, very competitive season. And with Brock Faber coming out with just more than that as well, all the ideas just like this. The deeper message was more just everyone has the right intentions in here, and let's just lean into that, make each individual good, and it'll come together. It was a good reset for us. It was very positive in that room. We knew the team we had, and we pushed through it. Now, with all of that comes, everybody working together, and I feel like everybody playing their role also had a major impact on how this month went. I mean, you go ahead here and have a look at it. The overtime loss to San Jose, they're a great team. Carolina, a great team. They come back, get a shootout win in Carolina with Jesper Wallstedt absolutely dominating. And now going in to the next couple of days, and I mean with tonight's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, they have a heavy set of games that they have shown that they can dominate in, and that change really had a major impact on it. And I feel like it all really does start from the simple things, then moving to, of course, the things that just kind of you have to go and do. And I feel like Jesper Wallstedt, of course, has been one of these guys. And I mean, remember the image we had in yesterday's video and how things have really came into play this year for Jesper Wallstedt after what was, I will honestly say, a terrible last season. 5 wins, 0 regulation losses, and 2 in overtime, 7 games. Guy's been elite, a 220 goals against, 926 save percentage. There's a big question as well as to, what the role is going to be. Not in net tonight. You have Filip Gustavsson in there, who's really had about 2/3 of the crease here on this season so far. People are calling for it, but you want to have your tandem going good. You can't let your guy Filip Gustavsson go dry on the bench either. You can't let him get cold because he has held you in games over the past couple of seasons. And I mean, with everything that's gone on, it's fair to say that he is a major leader on this team. And Brock Faber did continue on with this, all kind of linking it together with everything. So he says a lot of guys spoke up, and it was a great message, and obviously it changed a lot of things for us. It just sucks that when you're losing like that, you come to the rink gloomy, and you come to the rink, it feels like everything in your life sucks, and that is the positivity kind of lifted us all, So, I think, like I mentioned, it starts from the goaltending. Seeing Jesper Wallstedt do great, that's lifting the momentum in the locker room. It's lifting the spirits, and when you have him holding you guys in games, your stars running, a guy like Daniil Yurov, who jumped up to the first line, 2 assists in that game the first time there, that's going to make your guys feel happy. So this is one thing that we're going to have to keep on watching, keep on going with. And of course, I ask you one question before we do finish this video off. And would you ride with Jesper Wallstedt over, Filip Gustavsson in this case? But right now, I'm going to say, no, I don't think so. However, you want to make sure that you're getting your guy Wallstedt in as well here in these games. So let me know what you think about all of that here. Now, of course, we're going to have a video tomorrow after the game against Pittsburgh tonight. All I got here in this one, though. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.